Okay, let's call the meeting to order and do a roll call. So Liz McLaren, just wait.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Brad Hoot,
Here.
Robbie Adams,
Here.
Betsy Hester,
Here.
Davis Lamb,
Here.
John Keeney.
Here.
Okay, everyone is here. Let's call the meeting to order. I think the first order of business is to recite the COVID motion. And to do that, I will turn that over to Christy Ransom.
Great. So as you all know, because of the COVID-19, you've been given authority by the governor to meet electronically. But one of the qualifications in order to conduct your meeting electronically is you have to declare that it is a necessity to hold the meeting electronically due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which is in accordance with Executive Order number 16 issued by Governor Lee on March 20th and extended by Executive Order number 51. So if someone will make a motion to that effect by saying so moved, that would be sufficient.
Oh, moved.
Second, John Kenny.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Well, I'm afraid we're
Aye.
going to have to do every action by roll call vote. So it's go one by
Okay.
one.
Robbie Adams.
Brad Hoot?
Aye.
Andy, you want me to
Go ahead,
call
Floyd.
or do you want to go?
No,
Okay.
Floyd, you go ahead.
Robbie Adams,
Aye.
Betsy Hester,
Aye.
Brad Hoot,
Aye.
John Kinney,
Aye.
Davis Lamb,
Aye.
Liz McLaren,
Aye.
Andy Reese.
Aye. Unanimous approval. Ready to move on to the second order of business then, Christy, are you good?
That works for me, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
All right, second order of business is the minutes. Everyone has a copy of the minutes. Is there any discussion concerning the minutes? Floor is open. Hearing no discussion, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So approved. So moved.
Second,
Second.
let's take a roll call. Floyd,
Robbie Adams,
Yes.
Betsy Hester,
Yes.
Brad Hoot,
Yes.
John Kinney,
Yes.
Davis Lamb,
Yes.
Liz McLaren,
Yes.
Andy Reese.
yes,
Motion passes.
the motion passes. The next order of business is the representative giving us the overview of the stormwater appeal. And I'm going to turn over to Floyd to introduce that and let the representative from T Squared give their presentation, and then we will have questions.
Yeah, I think if it's okay, Mr. Chair, we'll have Michael read the staff report first and then maybe bring the applicant in.
That's great.
All right, Michael.
Okay. Item number 2. Tim Turner, on behalf of Colleen Colley, is requesting a waiver of Section 4 of the Williamson County Stormwater Management Regulations regarding the Waterway natural area for property located at 2030 Cedarmont Drive. The owner is seeking a change of use through the planning department to establish the property as a rural retreat extensive so that events can be hosted on the premises. Currently, the property has several existing structures and driveways, some of which will be utilized for the venue. There is a stream on the property which appears to begin upstream of a pond, and the stream runs through the property. The stream has a 50-foot wena from top of the bank on each side. There is an existing driveway that runs within and parallel to the Waterway natural area for approximately 200 feet, with the closest point to the stream being approximately 5 feet. The owner would like to be able to use the driveway as part of the event center. However, a driveway located within the Waterway natural area is not permitted per section 4.2 of the Stormwater Management Regulations. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the Stormwater Management Regulations to allow the existing driveway to remain within the Waterway natural area and to utilize it as part of the event center.
Okay, the applicant is T Squared. So Eric or Tim, if you have anything you would like to add at this time, or if you want to display any other graphics, let me know and I can share the screen.
Thanks, Floyd. This is Eric at T Square Engineering. Just like to point out that there are two driveways that access the property. And on the proposed site plan, the one primary gate that accesses the property is the main drive use that gives direct access to parking and to the proposed event barn. That drive is not within the WENA, and the secondary drive, which passes through the WENA for, like, as Michael described, for about 200 feet, is an existing driveway. It's been there for several decades and pretty well established, other than some recently fallen trees. We're proposing to do some plantings to prevent any erosion control where those trees have fallen. And the use of that secondary entrance would be very minimal, probably just for service providers and possibly for staff members that need to get out while wedding guests are coming in. And Colleen Kelly, our client, whose family has owned the farm for 27 years, she is on here if you have any questions for her. Or Colleen, if there's anything that you would like to add, please go ahead and provide the board with anything that you might want to add.
I don't think so, other than kind of what Eric said. We've the driveway's been there since we kind of moved. So recently we did lose one big tree, and so we were already talking about kind of replanting that, but we would definitely do that just to kind of help keep that little pool at the base not as hot, which will kind of help all the plants and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Floyd, do you want to turn people on and off with questions, or maybe we can just go ahead if anyone has questions for the applicant or for staff, feel free.
I have questions. Go for it, did you say?
Yes.
What is the increase in traffic, if any, on the road? And what will be the difference in the types of vehicles?
Is that for me, or is T Squared need to answer that?
T Squared will answer all the questions unless they refer to somebody else. How's that?
Sounds good.
Thank you. So the event barn the venue will be limited to 183 guests, and 60 parking spots are provided, or 61 parking spots are required for the project. We're talking primarily just, personal vehicles for wedding guests. That's the primary purpose of the proposal, is to host weddings. Ms. Kelly has been hosting weddings through special permits through the BZA for the last year or two. I think typically her guest count is at the most about 120 people at a wedding. And the parking area that has been provided has always been sufficient for the number of guests that have arrived. I'm not sure exactly how many cars that typically is. Colleen may or may not be able to give you an estimate on that. The only other vehicles that wouldn't just be personal vehicles for wedding guests would, be probably a van for catering or a florist, perhaps a DJ that might be providing music for the wedding event.
Yeah, so mostly it is personal cars. The florist, she just wants a normal SUV, same thing with the DJ, but the caterer does have a big van normally. And then there's a box truck that comes for table linens and that kind of thing. However, they normally come in before the event starts, so they just come up that first driveway, and then they turn around in front of our barn, drop off, and then they go park. So they normally don't use that back driveway. That back driveway is just part of a loop that we're using mainly for the guests who are coming in.
We're not looking at any dump trucks or big, no real change.
No, not really, because we've always had a dumpster on the property. So that is something that's just gonna keep with its current schedule. I think it comes second Tuesday of every month. And so that dumpster is stored in a big red barn near the front driveway. So that truck, our landscaping trucks, they all come up the front driveway. We really don't use the back driveway. We just kind of use the front driveway. It would just be 4 events, I think, per the traffic study. We need to have kind of a one-way entrance and exit. So that's why we'd be doing that for the events with the personal cars.
Brad, did that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Any follow-up on that topic from anyone? I had a follow-up parking question for you. It's a little unclear whether you intend on your existing property access paragraph, you talk about the secondary driveway only be using occasionally, but then you also discuss the idea of a loop that could go through and actually run weddings as a loop kind of a thing. So my question is, can you clarify that? And secondarily, I live at the end of the long driveway, and whenever you meet someone on that driveway, somebody goes off on the grass to let, to pass. Do you have turnoffs or things that, how do you handle it when 2 cars or a car and a truck meet each other on either of those driveways? My only concern is if someone meets someone in that watershed WMA, somebody's going to go off on the bank, off on the grass to allow the other one to pass. And I'm just a little concerned about that. Any thoughts on that?
There are some wide places in the driveway which I would consider turn off, and Ms. Kelly does provide staff which directs people on parking and directs people if should there be any cars that need to pass each other going in the opposite directions.
Yeah. Anybody else questions on the use of the driveway? Hearing no further than that topic, any other topics or questions for them? Okay, I have one more, and that is, how did you arrive at 183 guest limit?
That is a number that is calculated by the architect. It's based on maximum occupancy for fire safety rules.
I got you. So it's not based on expected number of cars for 183 occupants. Here's my concern. If you take, and again, I'm looking at the watershed area. If you take data on number of occupants for church parking, the range is between 1.8 and 2.7 people per car. If you take 183 people plus staff and divide it by 1.8 or 2.7, can someone mute if they're here to feedback, please?
If you want me to,
Everybody.
Andy, I can mute everybody, and then whoever needs to speak can unmute themselves, but I'm going to mute everybody. Okay.
Okay, let me continue then. So, so we've had 16 weddings out at our house. So I speak with some experience in terms of parking. And you said you've got parking for 60 or 62 cars. I would venture to guess that 183 people will need about 15 more spaces than that. And my concern is if they come in that driveway, the parking lot is full, they'll be directed to the back driveway and park in the WMA possibly. That would be my concern, that you're going to end up with people pulling off and parking there as an overflow possibility. Can you speak to that concern? And you got to unmute yourself, I guess.
Eric, do you want me to?
Sure, go ahead, Colleen.
Okay. So what because we've been doing events on the property and thing, what we've noticed is we actually get less than 60 cars because bridal party normally all rides together. Somebody normally brings grandma. Most people do have dates to the weddings. And then another thing that we have been encouraging is sometimes, Ubers and that kind of thing, especially because most of our weddings, they do serve alcohol. So we have a lot of people get dropped off by Ubers and that kind of thing. So thus far, we haven't had a wedding where we needed more parking spaces, but I understand that concern. But when people come in that back driveway, it's not something that's not the closest place to get to the barn. So, and they're directed to keep going kind of around. There's a huge loop. So a loop past the main house, which is just a private residence, and then kind of back towards where kind of our barn is and that kind of thing. So if they parked on the side of any road, it would be on that newer first driveway. Down by the creek definitely would not be ideal for most reasons. It's not well lit to get back to their cars, and it's a pretty far hike up a hill to get to that barn.
This is Eric at T-Square. I'd also like to add that both of the entrances are gated. Just from going to the side, I know that Colleen has the ability to open and shut those gates with her cell phone. And so she basically can control who has access to that drive.
Yeah, the problem is you're opening up the driveway for everybody to arrive at the wedding. You can't shut any gate. Now, if you shut the back gate, that won't solve the parking problem because people are coming from the main driveway around to that area. I don't know that it's a significant problem. And you said you've only had 100 people maximum so far. Let me just suggest that maybe just for weddings, you put up a no parking posting or something along those areas. That would certainly make me feel better. I have seen the effects of a bunch of people parking on stream banks, and it certainly tears things up in a way we wouldn't want to see happen. Looks like a beautiful creek, beautiful pond, great piece of property. And I know you've done a lot of work preserving it and making it that way. So that would be my only concern. Are there any other comments or thoughts? Dave, I think you need to. Go ahead, Liz.
I just had one question. Obviously in bold, you say we will not host events exceeding the maximum capacity of 183 people. And, you know, I realize that, you know, that does relate, I believe I read, to septic as well, that 183 number, and that you would, if you exceeded that, you would have to use portable restroom trailers. I'm curious, you know, if you went up to 183 people and then you had staff and things like that, I wonder, adding a tent, you know, I don't really know what our role could be related to capacity at the event, but I could imagine that if somebody decided we want to put up a tent, you know, I'm just curious about what do you limit the number of people with your guests? I mean, do you say to the people who are renting your facility, you can't have more than X number of people and we don't do tents? And do you have all of those regulations or all of those rules that you provide to your potential guests?
Yeah, we do. Because of exactly that reason. We are still a private property. So as far as these events, we're not trying to be like Sycamore Farms or some of the ones that's all they do. So as a family, we've kind of discussed and we plan to do, you know, still a limited number of events, like 20 a year, and we don't want anything crazy. So we do kind of limit the number at 170 guests, because the max capacity of the barn, just when you get a dance floor and things like that, 183 is actually way too many to have a nice, fun event. We don't want to just cram people in there. So we do that kind of stuff. As far as tents, we don't do tents. Tents are honestly a pain, but also you have to, figure out power to them, where to put them, disturb our property, things like that. So yeah, we're, while we're doing these events, we're not willing to do them at the risk of preserving what has been a family-owned property for 20 years. So we do have all those kind of rules to keep that in check.
Thank you. I did visit the property, and I would just mention that the WNA is very well managed. They have appropriate wetland plants that they've clearly put in the WNA, and I appreciated that.
That's great. Thanks for visiting the site too. That's awesome. Anyone else have a comment? Davis, I thought I saw you speaking.
Yes,
you have to unmute yourself. Okay, go ahead.
Good. Thank you. I noticed on the plan that there were some proposed plantings, and I kind of wanted to know more about that. Is it specific to what I'm seeing here, that there's 5 trees, and are those 2-inch caliper trees, or what additional information can you provide about the plantings that are proposed within the WENA?
Those proposed plantings are live stakes, so really won't be any digging or disturbance. They're just will be put into the ground during the appropriate time of year, probably November. And as I mentioned earlier, there's been a couple of trees that have fallen recently, and so just trying to propose those to replace what was there and make sure that there's no erosion problems that develop where those trees have fallen.
Any other response or question about that topic? All of my video has frozen. Is everybody else's video frozen as well, or is it just me?
No, I think everybody else is okay.
All right, it's me then. Awesome. Any other questions or concerns? I can't see you wave your hand. So Floyd, do you want to take over in case people are waving?
Okay, I'll take a look here. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Well, that's Mr. Kenny. I went out and visited the property, and the only concern I would be parking down around the creek area. And I think Andy said that would be a good idea to have some signs where they couldn't park down there. But that's our objective today, is to determine what's on the creek area and not what's up in the barn or any of the parking area. And that's the only comment I've got to make.
Any response to that? All right, any further comment?
I've got a
The,
question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask if the applicant would be receptive to placing a sign that kind of defined the Weena, both sides of the Weena, and just says no parking to it. And that might be something that could be done in a professional manner and left where it doesn't look temporary just for an event necessarily.
So we already have signs that we put up that say event parking this way and that kind of thing. And then we have 2 parking attendants at everything. So I would definitely be open to doing additional no parking signs. The only problem with making them kind of permanent is, I mean, I guess we could do that. Just at that point, it kind of turns more commercial looking and still kind of like a family farm, nature kind of stuff. But if that was the difference in, you know, obviously us getting to be able to do this and not, we would definitely do it. But I would prefer not to do any kind of permanent signage.
Any other board members have thoughts on that suggestion?
I do. My question is this: is Christy, can we ask them or require them to put the signs up when they have an event where the Weena becomes an issue? Can we require that? Is that allowed?
If you're concerned about protecting the waterway natural area, then as a condition of approval of the waiver, you can certainly ask them to put up, whether it's permanent signage identifying the waterway natural area and asking that it be a no disturb area, or that a temporary sign be placed around the waterway natural area that says no parking for every event. When you grant a waiver of a regulation like this, you are given authority to add additional conditions that would alleviate problems that could be created by virtue of granting the waiver, but it needs to be related to the waterway natural area. So as Mr. Kenny was saying, you don't have the authority to grant any conditions related to the current parking areas. That's something that would be reviewed by the Board of Zoning Appeals for the special use, which they did, or by staff for the site plan approval. But to answer your question, yes, signage related to the waterway natural area is definitely a condition that would be appropriate should you choose to do so.
Okay, because that sort of answers that's my concern, what y'all were talking about. And if we can do that, I don't think they need to be permanent. We just need, when they have events, to make sure that nobody does it.
Everybody generally okay with that suggestion? Seems like that'll solve the issue.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
other questions? Going once, going twice. Any other questions or comments? Okay, does anyone have a motion to offer concerning this appeal?
I think we need to have a public hearing before we have any kind of motion.
Was just about to say that, Mr. Kenny.
This Mr. Kenny, we need to have a public hearing before we have a motion. If it's one thing that is should be in a rule, and that has not been called on.
Yeah, Andy, if you just want to open a public hearing
Okay.
session.
Yes, thank you. Any comments from the general public? The floor is open. Hearing none, the floor is closed for general comment from the public. Back to the request for a motion.
Well, listen, Mr. Kenny, I make a motion that we grant this with the conditions that they put up signs during the event for the no parking in the Weena area.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second for the record?
Sorry, Liz McLaurin.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Floyd, will you take a roll call vote then? Because I can't see anybody moving or anything.
Yes, Robbie Adams,
Approve.
T. Hester,
Yes.
Brad Hoot,
Yes.
John Kinney,
Yes.
Davis Lamb,
Yes.
Liz McLaren,
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes. The motion is approved unanimously, and have wonderful weddings out there. The last order, the last thing on the agenda is other business. Is there any old or new business any member of the board would like to bring forward? Hearing none. Staff, do you have any, or Christy, do you have any thing you need to bring to the board?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Staff does not have anything, Mr. Chairman. I don't think. Michael, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Listen, Mr. Kenny, second.
All in favor? I guess we need to do a roll call for this too. Ready, Floyd? Go.
Christie, do we need to vote for this?
Not necessarily. Y'all can just say aye on this one.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The meeting is officially adjourned. I'm cracking the hammer on my desktop now. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good
This
job,
conference is
everybody.
no longer being recorded.